So I lived in Miami for 3 months, and I have had some experiences and some ghost demonic-like stories. I want to make this video as short as possible, so I'm going to cut to the chase. So after being rejected 30 times statewide because they could afford to be picky, I landed at this apartment in Miami. Here's the video. It was a really small studio at 380 square feet. Didn't feel very small because everything was in walkable distance. Here's a quick clip of how everything looked around it. The city of Miami in general was so well developed. Here are some clips of me driving there during spring break. The city of Miami is so well developed. Everything is walkable, it's dense, all the roads are easy to know. This is the suburban area, and it's really easy to get around. You just take this street, then you take a left, and then you turn right, and there's the apartment and all the things in between. I remember we were driving through this road on the way to the apartment. This area will remind you of scenes of Dexter. This is the road I would take on the way back every day to my apartment. The building that you see on the far back was where I used to deliver
then turn left onto Southwest 102nd Avenue.
All the time. And right over here on the left here is we're on the way to the apartment. And then the buildings over there is also the college areas.
Southwest 102nd Avenue.
I honestly don't need the GPS at this point. But here we are. This is where my apartment was in Miami. Now I am not gonna go in the property because I do not live there anymore and it is considered trespassing. So moving on, curveballs were thrown my way very quickly. Day 4, the power was out and I couldn't figure it out, running around, moving here and there, like checking my bill payment, calling the electric company, even telling the landlord. The maintenance guy came to my apartment, checking the breaker. We found out a few days later that it was because the address was wrong by a number because the landlord didn't get the address correct. Shit happens. Then they had me stay at their complimentary tutorial that you would probably see on maps or a tour kind of area. Here's some clips. So moving on, I remember the day after we got my power situated, I was still sleeping on the air mattress on the floor. I hear a knock like this. And I was tempted to get up and go. But as I come out, my shirt's off, half asleep, I was like, what? You can just see that half asleep look on my face. And there was this guy who had shorts, a t-shirt, a walkie-talkie in his back pocket going off. And then he had a clipboard and shades with a forward hat, and he said, hey, is there a previous tenant's name who I heard about because of the power outage? And I remember I was like, he doesn't live here, he's gone. And the guy was like, is he out of state? And I was like, I have no idea. He's like, okay, thanks, all we need to know. And I heard clear. And then after that, more curveballs were thrown my way. My 3rd week in Miami, I lost my job with Instacart because I was accused of theft, basically. It was going on with everyone during the pandemic. Some people just suck, which was great because Instacart wasn't paying enough. I went from making real money to shit, basically. It was like $7 for a double order that took an hour and a half with no tip. So moving on, when the building collapsed, I went and checked it out. There's nothing else for me to do. Then I found this bartending place a little further down from it called the Tavern Oceanside Hotel. Some person I met when walking the streets told me about it, and went applying, got my foot in the door in a week. So this is the street of where I used to do my bartending gig. The bartending place is just further down past this gas station. It's kind of weird coming back here after remembering my experiences here and how inexperienced I was before going to bartending school. This right here on the sign that says Mount Vernon was the bar I was working at for 3 weeks before they let me go for not being able to catch up as it was too fast paced. It feels like nostalgia being back here. So here I am without a job. I was rejected here and there, rejected this one bar, and they were kind of dicks about it. I even got rejected at a grocery store. I was just not having the best of luck. I even got a traffic ticket in this area. Here's a clip for that too. This building right here was where I got my parking ticket when delivering food for about 5 minutes. Overall, I was just not having good luck as time went on. All the time at night, I always had this feeling as if something in the middle of the night was keeping me up. Like it didn't want me there. And as time went on, it started getting stronger and stronger, and I thought maybe it was just me living in fear and stress and all that stuff. I'm trying to get to the point. So, to make a long story short, all the times I was here, I was always up between 2 and 5 a.m. There was just this feeling of being drained and this presence and energy all around, like it just did not want me there. And I felt drained no matter how much caffeine I had. I had not the best of luck, rejected here and there. I eventually had a notice on my door when trying to look for another job at this place saying help wanted. After applying twice, I never heard back. So this now hiring and nobody wants to work things bullshit. But that's another video. Let's move on. I got a slip on my door saying 30 days to pay or quit, and I was living in more fear. And I guess that was feeding more. The energy was a negative energy and fear. Either way, there was just this negative energy all around me, draining me. Like it didn't want me there. It was saying get out. And after all this, a couple days before I turned in my keys, I met this neighbor downstairs, and him and I became good friends like that, spiritually, like my buddy in San Diego. I decided to sit down on top of my 2-bit where my computer is. I got tired of standing. So as I meet this guy, him and I were instantly connected like that. We were playing the guitar, smoking a bit of weed, and we're talking and playing music about my life stories. And out of the blue, I asked him, "Do you remember that previous tenant who was here?" Because I remember the landlord telling me that he was a nut job who shot up on the job and that they made him leave. That was the side of the story they were telling me. And this guy was telling me, oh yeah, he was a nut job. Like, he was crazy. Like, he locked himself in his apartment and that he asked me for help on getting a credit card and all that stuff. And there was a time he locked himself outside of his apartment with the key in his pocket, saying that he was locked out of his apartment. He had no way of getting in. He slept on the patio. He said there was another night, like at 3 a.m. or so, that he was outside of the patio screaming on top of his lungs, and it wasn't like a regular scream. He said it was like a demonic kind of scream, and it went on for an hour, and that the neighbors around were calling the cops for noise complaints, and the cops had to come in and make him leave the building, and the landlord was informed about it, and that's when he was evicted in a flash. The night after that, the apartment was just, it felt really sick. It felt haunted. I remember in the middle of the night, the chair that the kid had there looked like someone was sitting there or something. I remember as I get up, it's the middle of the night, I started feeling really sick. As you can see in this video here. But every night I'm here, 3 a.m., I feel like somebody's either here, wherever, especially at 3 a.m. See the mirror? At 3 a.m. I feel like something's just standing there looking right at me, and it is not happy that I'm here. It just basically says, get the fuck out. I remember looking at that mirror, and I'm looking at myself, and it was a scream, kind of like the kid was describing to me, but it was a silent kind of scream, like not in my ears, but like a vibration. And the scream was so loud and intense that it was starting to make me sick. And I was in the bathroom, like trying so hard not to vomit. Then I tried to vomit to get it out, but I still couldn't do it. And I couldn't figure out what it was. It was making me sick. I was feeling more drained, and the energy was screaming, get out! So I spent the whole night packing, and as I'm packing, the energy slowly was lifted, as if it was happy I was leaving. As I'm done with the lease, I leave the keys and the key card on the desk. I didn't have time to like return my internet router or anything. I literally packed it with me and brought it and returned it later because I was in such a hurry to get the hell out of there. My parents gave me $150 in gas to get back up north because I would have been stuck there. As I turn in the keys, I'm already on my second energy drink because I'm just so tired. And I remember this, I'll never forget it. As I say everyone bye, I'm leaving. I get in the car, I head out the gate, I don't look back. I'm getting gas right down the street, and as I look behind the Publix where my apartment was, there was just this feeling like a black wave just hovering up, like it's another dimension, like evaporating. And as I'm looking at the street, it felt like it was getting farther and farther and farther and farther, even though it was only like 500 feet. As I'm pumping, I look towards the direction, and it just felt like the light at the end of the tunnel kind of area. And as I'm driving out of Miami, all of my energy comes right back, and I'm like I'm driving like 80 because I'm so hyped up on caffeine. Like all those energy drinks were like coming at me, and I was like this. Of course, I was just like everybody else because they're on cocaine. So as I get out of Miami, I remember I did not look back. I'm driving 5.5 hours straight back to one of my family members, and it's pitch black dark. It's probably like 10 p.m. and I'm just sitting in my car thinking back whatever that thing was. I was like, happy I'm out of there. I'm outside trying to get some exercise as I haven't hit the gym today. So we're going to cut to the chase on the explanation of the apartment and what was in there. I kind of get the cringe just retelling this story, so that's why I'm kind of awkward when I retell this whole story, because I just didn't like my experience in Miami. So I go there on spring break after visiting my old bar job, welcome back, all that stuff. I remember there was this gift shop. I was trying to buy a shot glass. There was this dude coming out of nowhere with his eyes like this and his pupils dilated. I didn't think much of it because a third of the people were like that because they're all on cocaine. The guy was talking about this marijuana that he has there, and it was spring break, and I wanted to get high. And I asked the guy, is it recreational? He's like, yes, yes, with his eyes wide open, and he goes on, he's like, smell it! And it didn't smell like weed, it smelled like maybe pine sol kind of smell. And I didn't think much of it, so I got the weed, the grinder, and the shot glass, and he was hand signaling the guy with a thumbs up, and he vanished. And so as I buy it, it was $150, and I didn't know about it until I looked at the receipt. So I get the feel they were probably planning something and trying to get rid of it, because the dude like talked me into it. So as I'm at the Motel 6 in Miami, so anyway, as I'm in the hotel, the weed, which I have a picture of right here, it wasn't an ordinary kind of weed. It just, like the size of my thumb kind of thing. It was real light, lighter than most weed, real stale and crunchy, like croutons, making that crunch sound when you split it in half. Like even the stem split in half completely. And it had that strong pine sol smell, and as I'm grinding it, it was really hard and tough to grind. Like it was a fluffy kind of material. Wasn't normal. And as I'm walking to the door, about to head outside with it, there was this urge, like strong enough for me to stop before even holding the door, and it said, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. I couldn't even like get past the door because the urge was so strong, like as if it was a warning or something. But of course my dumbass didn't listen, and as I smoked it, I didn't even get like a normal high. It was kind of like a wired high, but then a crash at the same time, and eating caffeine. And I think smoking this and mixing it with caffeine and alcohol and not sleeping was part made me all delusional, and it just distorted reality in a number of ways. It made me all anxious, agitated, my eyes open, looking here and there, the feeling of not being alone and scared of being alone, and talk a lot, and just in fear, and I couldn't stop doing it at the same time. And it just distorted reality and your vibrations into like a hellish kind of vibe. And that was when I knew something was up. Like it wasn't normal. And so after doing some research on Google of like laced weed, I ended up talking to one of my family members who knows about these kinds of things, and he said, oh yeah, it was definitely laced with cocaine, maybe a bit of PCP and fentanyl, maybe acid, because there was some hallucinations. And so as my brain changed and all this reality, I ended up bumping into one of my gym partners who I only talk to every once in a while. She said I didn't want to go near you because there was just this energy and it was demonic, and apparently it killed one of her family members, and I wanted to get rid of it. So as we were on the phone and stuff, apparently it followed me up here, and my guess was the stuff I was smoking may have sent vibrations to follow me here. And as time went on, I was just like, get this thing out of here. Like, instead of being in, my fear level dropped to 0. I was just like, get this thing out of here. I'm sick of dealing with this thing. I got away from it. Why does it still follow me? It's like it wants your soul and it's tried to kill you for months. But I guess my power and the belief in the name of Jesus is probably what keeps me alive. The fact that I have smoked all of that laced weed and still alive and not have a brain damage or trauma is a goddamn miracle. Alright, screw it. Let's just end the video, as I feel like it's longer than it should be. So to make the story short, which I tried doing, in the apartment there was a Satan ritual going on, and when I asked this demonic entity what happened in that apartment, it literally took the time to answer me. It said that somebody drew portals on the floor and drew symbols on the walls, and miraculously it caught on fire, and the landlords had to repaint and redo the floors. And it basically said to me, how did you not know? It was all over the walls and the portals on the floor. And so basically there was a Satan ritual going on in there, and that it did sacrifices and all that stuff, and me probably moving in that apartment was probably a huge mistake. And that's basically what happened in that apartment in Miami. And all of Miami, in that matter, feels like it is sick. It feels like it's hell walking on earth. All those experiences and the feelings I've had smoking that stuff was how it felt. Very sick, very haunted, all that stuff. So there was that. Video was longer than I wanted it to be, but I'm still glad I got to experience Miami because it's a new trend. Hope this video was entertaining for everyone. Peace.